I've had a lot of people complain about me being overly positive on movies previously, so today I prove that theory absolutely incorrect. Hey there, and welcome back to The Disconnected. Today I'm going to do a real quick back-to-back review on 3 recent boutique Blu-ray releases. First one being Scream Factory's The Sword and the Sorcerer in 4K. So real quick, before I dive into the full review of this film, I'm going to say that this movie barely deserves about 1.5 convoluted storybooks out of 5 in my completely objective, perfect rating system. The Sword and the Sorcerer is about something. I'm not even entirely sure. One of the reasons I can't rate this any higher is because I'm flabbergasted that it exists. To be fair, I don't love fantasy films. I think that it is possibly my least favorite genre of movie, and I bought this because it came out right when I would have been in the sweet spot to see these. Unfortunately, I didn't see it then, and maybe that's why I think it has almost zero charm. Everything I've read show that this was made for a very small budget, and while it shows, I think they do a very good job of creating a believable set and nice costuming and all that with what they had. Now, I gotta be frank, I could barely follow the story, and it's not because I'm an idiot. I promise I'm not. I think that they really just kind of pushed a whole bunch of different storylines together to try to have something be memorable, and the results of that were that, for me, none of them were. I remember 0 character names, I remember 0 motivations, I remember nothing, and I've watched this in the last 2 weeks. I'm also a special features junkie. I love diving in to find out what directors, producers, actors, and all that have to say on their experiences making a film, and unfortunately, I had 0 motivation to watch anything on this movie because it just soured me immediately, so I still haven't, and that honestly, that could completely switch around my opinion. I could watch some of these and come to full-on loving it and appreciating it for what it did, but at the moment, I think I need another watch. I will say that it is a very low-rated film discovery for me this year so far. As for pairings, which I usually do on some of these, I would say I can like some really terrible fantasy films, and I'm a big fan of the 90s Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner. I don't know why. You know, I watched it a lot when I was younger. I thought that it was done very well. I thought that it was fun. I thought that it had an okay script. Watching it now, it's very cringy, but it's worth it. And honestly, with films like this and Legend and some of these other sort of fantasy adjacent films getting really good boutique releases from that era, I kind of hope we get Prince of Thieves soon. I think it would go very well with the Arrow release of Waterworld, and yeah, just fingers crossed that that comes eventually. While they can't all be winners, I would say that everybody should probably watch the recent Indicator release of The Brute. This film is from the late 70s, and it is so wonderfully made to show the idea of domestic violence and the endless cycle of abuse that can happen in situations in ways that are not glorifying any of the violence or abuse, but really showing it being relative. And I think that's one of the most important things about this film, is that it shows how it carries across different levels of class. There are 2 examples of abuse in this film that really occur with 2 of the main characters. One is our main character that we follow the entire length of the film, and she is upper class, undoubtedly, lives in a giant house. The second character that they show as an example is one that is pretty low class. I would say lower middle class, and she just has nowhere to go when something happens to her. The character that is upper class can still go do work, can get jobs, has friends, can rent an apartment in the city just at the drop of a hat because she has the money, and it is showing the stark difference between how abuse can affect different people in different statuses and yet have it be this relative thing that they can find solace in, and they really help each other out throughout the film. It is a film that has some disturbing things in it. It is a film that is not flinching away from any of the sadistic sides of abuse, and it is just so depraved in the way that they show these abusers. Coming from somebody that has witnessed some of this, has been in situations where they've had to help people out of it, it is it is very realistic on how difficult it is to escape abuse. So the Brute for me gets an easy 4 out of 5 ripped shirts. It is very well made. It is something that is an achievement for when it came out. I think it's something that more people need to see because it is still extremely relevant. Special features on it are very good as well. They show how there were not real shelters in place for women at that time, and shortly after this was made, they had some that were created in the UK, and they show some of the special features focused on the lady that started the first one. It is a great release. It even has a short film from the director, which is pretty long. It's like, I think it was like 40 minutes. It is a movie that didn't really appeal to my desires to watch, so I did not watch the entire thing, but it looked pretty well shot for being a short film especially. But yeah, really good release. Indicator kills it as usual. The booklet inside is especially good. Highly recommend pickup, and it's available in the US and the UK, so no real excuse there. And this morning I watched a release from Factory 25, a Vinegar Syndrome partner label called Hellaware, and it is an interesting premise for a movie that pretty much fails on every level for me. For Hellaware, I only gave it 2 really shoddily put together rapcore singles out of 5. So this film is attempting to satirize the super pretentious assholery side of the art community, and while they're trying to satirize that, it doesn't come across as being any different than a lot of that. It is well made for a very low budget film. The actors aren't terrible, but the script itself is just lacking. Not a whole lot happens until the last like 4 minutes, and even then it's not, you know, some intense scene that I can't wait to just gush to my viewers about. It is something that I probably could do without ever seeing again in my life. And it's a film about music at its heart, and it's not good music. And I don't know, maybe I'm just not the right demographic for this one, but it just really did not work for me. Some of the visuals were super intriguing, and a lot of it is probably better suited for somebody who has been knee-deep in one of the 2 scenes, whether you are a juggalo, with nothing against them. I gotta be honest, some juggalos are some really great people. Or if you are, you know, fully immersed in the New York art scene, maybe you'll love this. I can't really speak to that experience, but from my experience, a film like this is something that I can't stand. Again, for everybody, they can't all be winners. If you're going to pick any of these, I would say The Brute is clearly the best film by a long shot. It is the best made film. It is the best script. It is the best acted. It is easily the most impactful film out of any of these. And if you're looking for it, I'll have the link for those in the description below. So that was my quick review of these 3 films. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that I could be somebody that you can turn to and sort of trust and get a gauge for what you're looking for in some of these movies. As always, I genuinely hope that you come back. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button below. I'm really nearing that push for 1,000 subscribers, which seems to be like it's coming up quicker than I expected at this point. I genuinely appreciate everybody that I've seen sharing my channel around. It seems to be happening a lot more lately. I hope that I can keep providing you content that makes you want to keep coming back. As always, if you want more content, there's other stuff like this exclusive to my Patreon channel. The link for that is in the description below. I appreciate you giving this a watch, and as usual, from one collector to all of you, have a good night.